Let's take these 3 items from Dollar Tree and customize them for fall with Cricut. Dollar Tree puts out these raw wood hanging craft blanks just about every season, and it's hard to know what to do with them. But to start, I removed the twine string and painted it with this hazelnut chalk paint. I just did one semi-thin coat. Then in Cricut Design Space, I started with a circle shape sized to 11 inches like the wood piece. I added some text using a Design Space font and typed some of my favorite things about fall. Go ahead and comment pumpkin spice if you love it too. Then I used the curve feature to curve the text to the shape of the circle, making sure to resize and adjust the curve until everything fit nicely. Now this font was a little thin for my liking, so I did the offset trick, adding just a slight offset, then hiding the original text, and I repeated this a second time to get a nice thick font that cut and weeded perfectly. Finally, I added a text image to the center of the circle, and you'll see in a second I changed my mind and used a slightly different one. Here is my painted wood piece and my vinyl cutouts, and I used a cream color and a hunter green permanent vinyl, and I used a medium tack transfer tape to add each of these parts of the design to the wood circle. I didn't want to paint the raised pumpkin that hazelnut color, but I wanted it to contrast a little less, so I used a metallic gold paint pen to balance out the design. Then for those outer pumpkin outlines, since they were still showing up, I just wanted to make it pop a little more, so I used a Sharpie to outline the lines and make it more visible. Then to finish off this sign, I added a piece of velvet trim ribbon to replace that twine and be able to hang this up. And here is the finished design. Let me know your thoughts on this Dollar Tree wood sign glow up in the comments. The next item is an 8x8 flat canvas that is perfect for adding iron-on vinyl to because there isn't a frame getting in the way. So I found a pumpkin image in Design Space, and using a square shape, I sized the pumpkin to the center. And when cutting iron-on, just remember to mirror before you cut. So I cut my pumpkin out of some patterned iron-on that I've had for years, and I used a glitter iron-on for the pumpkin stem. And I just thought this design would be so cute popping against that white canvas. So I used my mini heat press for this, set to medium, and I pressed according to the Cricut heat guide. In sections, I pressed for 25 seconds each until all parts of the design were ironed on. I did let it cool slightly before removing the lining, and then I repeated to add the stem using the same settings. Now this would be nice in a frame, but let me know in the comments if you would add anything to this. For this final project, I used 2 of the seasonal fabrics from Dollar Tree because I wanted to try sewing some coasters. And these fabrics are just fat quarters made into rolls. Now, this is far from a sewing tutorial, but I wanted to share my experimental process with you. I cut two 4.5-inch square pieces of fabric, which you could also use your Cricut to do, and I cut a pumpkin from some of that glitter iron-on to add to one side of the coaster. Then I thought I'd try using a pot holder for the filling so the coaster would be heat resistant. So I cut a piece of this to fit in between my fabric pieces. Now stick with me because you'll see how I remedy the mistake of leaving this super thick. But first, before I sewed anything, I ironed on my pumpkin and then layered my fabric pieces so that they were face to face, and then added the batting from the pot holder. I sewed around all four sides, leaving an opening, then realized the batting was just too thick and I couldn't turn it inside out. But I was determined to fix it, so I took it apart and divided that batting into two thinner pieces, then sewed it again, this time closer to the edge. After removing some of the bulk around the edges, I flipped the fabric inside out and sewed around the edges again to close the opening. Now, if you know how to sew, this should be easy for you, but again, I am still learning, and if I would have done this again, I would cut those squares much larger so that I have room to work with. But here is my imperfect coaster, and I hope it inspires you to try something new. But wait, there's more. I did use the other fabric with a piece of canvas fabric that I had on hand for the inner layer. I followed the exact same steps, and here is how the second one turned out. Still a work in progress, but so much better. Let me know in the comments if you'll use any of these Dollar Tree items for fall crafts. I'd love to know what you're making. See you in the next one.